Welcome to the Business Finance Bulletin, episode 231. Welcome again to the latest Business Finance Bulletin. With me, Rob Warlow from Business Loan Services, the commercial finance experts. In this bulletin, high-risk loans to businesses are on the rise, mixed messages from latest Creditsafe business review, and Financial Ombudsman Service to be opened to small businesses. In recent bulletins, I've highlighted the fact that there seems to be emerging evidence that banks are tightening up their criteria when it comes to lending to businesses, particularly small businesses. Well, this air of cautiousness has been echoed by the Bank of England via a recent report from the Financial Policy Committee. Now, this committee has noted that over the last 2 years, there seems to be evidence that banks are lending more to highly leveraged companies, and they see that as a risk. Now, what are highly leveraged companies? Well, these are businesses that are already highly borrowed. That's the highly leveraged bit. And also, typically, they have a much poorer credit rating. Now, you put these things two together, highly leveraged and a poor credit rating, and it means that those businesses are being charged much higher interest rates. And that's the problem, because perhaps not if, but when interest rates go up again, those businesses are much more vulnerable. And that's the bit that concerns the Bank of England. Now, this committee estimates that over the last 2 years, banks have lent a total of £68 billion to these highly leveraged businesses. And we're perhaps seeing conditions emerging again that was similar to the last credit crunch. In other words, businesses borrowing money unsustainably and the whole thing coming crashing down. So what does this mean to you? Well, it's possible that banks may further tighten their underwriting standards, which means it's going to be more of a challenge for you to get a loan, and perhaps it's going to take it longer to get that loan. So what you should do, plan in advance. Look at your forecast. If you see that you're going to need a cash requirement, start talking to your lender early. Secondly, don't just default to your bank. As I mentioned in the previous bulletin, episode 230, too many businesses are defaulting to the bank. So make sure that you look at all different sources of finance. As ever, interesting times ahead. Let's move on now to take a look at the latest business review report issued by Creditsafe, the online credit referencing agency. The latest report for Q3 2018 reveals some interesting mixed messages as regards what's going on out there. Now, Creditsafe monitor 12 key sectors, and in terms of sales, 10 of those sectors have reported increased sales in Q3 2018. Which are the best performing sectors? Well, IT, utilities, and transport and logistics. What about the two sectors that didn't report increase in sales, in other words, had a decrease in sales recorded? Well, that was banking and, perhaps more worryingly, manufacturing. Now, turning now to the less positive news, late payments obviously is a big issue for many businesses. The report took a look at the total amount of the debtor portfolio sat out there in the economy. Of those 12 sectors, they reported an increase in the debtor portfolio totaling 30%. Now, if sales were increasing, you would expect an increase in debtors, but however, not to the equivalent of a 30% increase. That implies businesses are sitting on a larger debtor portfolio which they can't get down. Perhaps it means an increasing problem for late payments. And in fact, the report takes a look at days beyond terms. What's the average days over agreed terms before they are paid? And that is 16 days over terms, and that has been increasing over the last few months. So as ever, interesting times ahead there. So let's see what the next Q4 report brings. If you're a small business owner and you've got a complaint against your bank, the first step to take is to go through the bank's internal complaint process. Now, the problem for small business owners is that if at the end of the process you're not happy with the outcome, you've got no other form of action to take other than going to the court. Now, many small business owners don't want to do that because of the time and also the cost involved. Well, the Financial Conduct Authority has recognised that small businesses are at a disadvantage compared to individuals when it comes to complaints against banks. Individuals can go to the Financial Ombudsman Service. It's an independent arbiter who can look at the nature of the complaint and effectively rule independently. And the Financial Conduct Authority thinks that's unfair for small businesses. So it has announced that with effect from April 2019, small businesses will be able to use the Ombudsman Service. So what is a small business in their terms of definition? Well, it's a business that's turning over less than £6.5 million a year, has less than 50 employees, or a balance sheet size of less than £5 million. I'm sure that captures the vast majority of small businesses. So the FCA is in the process of putting all the rules together, and that's the anticipated rollout date of April 2019. So it's really good news for businesses who've got grievances against their bank. Well, that's it for another bulletin. As ever, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a like and a share. So that's it. Have a great, successful and profitable week. I look forward to being with you next time.